Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, bots and cons, to a very special edition of the officially unofficial Transformers TCG podcast, Tech Talk. We're joined, as always, by Scott of VectorSigma.info, but we do have another special guest with us. Special guest, would you mind introducing yourself and telling the masses exactly who you are?
Sure. Hi, my name's John Temple. I'm the marketing manager over at Pastimes, and we spend a lot of time running Transformers events at convention level conventions and things.
And if any of you out there listening or watching this later on YouTube, if you've been to any events, they probably ran into you at some point, right, John? Like you personally?
Yeah. I'm usually one of the guys wearing the gray Pastime shirts if you went to PAX Unplugged, PAX East, or any of our other events where we ran Transformers.
So that's a little bit about the history for how you're coming in. Quick personal thing before we dive right into, well, what everybody's, at this point, I hope, has at least an inkling of. But, John, specifically for Transformers, you got to pick one. Give me a Transformer off the top that is your favorite.
Oh, wow.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot, and I didn't prep you for this one.
So from a playability standpoint of playing competitively, I really love the Metroplex. I think that there's that guy's such a powerhouse.
Yeah.
We've been playing it locally, and he's just been smashing. But I'm a big Soundwave person, just as from the toy line and the TV show. Soundwave is just
music to my ears. Get it?
Oh, the jokes!
I got him. Wow. I got him in spades. But anyway, as I was alluding to, if you've been, I guess, under a rock for the last, well, however long, 24 hours by the time this goes live, you may not be aware, but there was kind of a big deal that was brought out, and John's a big part of that. So that's why we're happy to have you on here, John. We kind of wanted to pick your brain about a number of subjects, detail a lot of the things that are going on here. So I'm going to pop John up on screen here. And as John said, he represents Pastimes. So, John, give us the synopsis of the big announcement, and then we'll dive into the specific details for it.
Sure. So basically, we've been working very closely with Wizards of the Coast to develop a convention-level series for Transformers. This series features two stages, which will take the place of opens, and they're going to happen at Origins Game Fair and Gen Con, and the top 8 of those are going to move on to the top 16 of those events will be moving on to the Transformers TCG Energon Invitational at PAX Unplugged. Both of these qualifying events, these opens, will award $10,000 to the top 32 players, and we'll get these folks all the way to this Energon Invitational at PAX Plug, which is going to award $20,000 to the top 32 players. But the biggest prize, which is the coolest thing I've seen from any games, is the ability to collaborate with Wizards to make a Transformers TCG character card.
I hope everybody's ears perked up at that. That is amazing. John, thank you for detailing all that stuff. And we do have a bunch of questions. We're going to circle back to it because there are other details outside of the realm specifically of the competitive end things that we want to touch on. However, I did want to pitch it to Scott at the beginning because all of this is, to me, and I'm sure everybody out there, your hair was standing on end. You were getting really excited, really energized for this. But Scott, you had a bunch of questions about, I guess, the formation of this. Do you want to take over from here?
Yeah, so John and I met at PAX Unplugged, and we've been in contact since then. So thanks for coming on. The main question I had is just where the idea came from, where working with Wizards came from. I know you guys have run a lot of successful invitational type events for Magic, but I guess where you saw it succeeding with Transformers and how it came about to begin with, I guess.
Sure. So, kind of talking about Pastimes history with Wizards of the Coast, we've been running Magic events with Wizards of the Coast for 25 years, basically since the beginning of Magic. For those of you who've played Magic, we were professional tournament organizers running regional pre-releases and large Grand Prix, running 1,000, 2,000 player events for the last 10, 15 years. So over the course of the last year, we've moved more into a convention model with Wizards of the Coast running Magic. And so at Gen Con last year, but 2-3 months beforehand, they approached us and they said, "Hey, we've got this new thing coming out. We haven't really talked about it, but it's the Transformers TCG. Would you like in on this?" And of course, we snapped called yes, because this is a great IP.
Naturally.
And we're super excited to be able to be part of it. So, we've been running these at a couple of running Transformers TCG events at a couple of conventions at this point. We've had lots of interactions with Wizards, giving them lots of feedback about how these events are going, what the reception from the player base looks like. And so then they came to us and they said, "Hey, so we really want to put together this really cool thing. We've got some cool ideas. What do you think?" And so from there, we took their ideas, we workshopped them. Some of the ideas they had weren't great, some of the ideas we had weren't great, and we then turned it into kind of what you see here, which is an amalgamation of some really, really great ideas. Basically, our ideas, we want to give the ability for there to be high-level Transformers TCG play. We want to be able to publish deck lists so that there's a really good sense of what the metagame of this game looks like, and to get more publicity and more visibility of this game to the general populace. There are lots of people that I'm playing with in my local store who are Transformers fans, but have never played a TCG before.
Yes.
And what we're seeing is there are lots of those Transformers fans who are like, "Yeah, this is really cool," but we also want to touch into that TCG crowd and say, "Hey, here's this really cool game that has a competitive scene. Come on out and join us."
Sounds perfect to me. So, Scott, aside from the initial inception there were a few other things that you wanted to pick John's brain about.
So I guess we can segue right into why now, I guess you could say. Like, I know obviously that Wizards is they just released the promos with the OP kits and things like that. And in the last interview we had with Drew, he mentioned where they saw, quote, like convention level events being these destination type larger events. And obviously that was a precursor of what you guys were discussing at the time. I guess just are you, like, have they told you, or have you guys discussed as a group, like, why now? Why with this set? Why, how have we gotten to this point, and why do we think it's going to be successful from here on out?
Sure. So I don't want to speak for Wizards of the Coast. I'm going to
Sure.
speak for myself and our company.
Absolutely.
It seems from kind of the look of the game and how things are going with that there is a want for this. What you folks are doing is a great example of this. There's a ton of content, player-based content that's being created for this game, more so than, say, whenever Magic was first coming out. Obviously, it's a completely different era, but
yes.
there's so much content out there coming out for Transformers TCG, and it seems like there's this want for this high-level play. And Wizards of the Coast definitely, again, not speaking for them, but from my vantage point, wants to make sure that they're tapping into that, but make sure that they're doing it correctly and in a manner that makes sense for both the WPM and the Wizards Play Network, which is the organization that retailers join to run Wizards of the Coast events, so that they can get these great events to you folks.
Awesome. Yeah,
Great.
I know I'm repeating myself, but everything you're saying as how it was formed and where the directions are going is music to my ears, and something that we've all on the competitive side of things have been longing for. And that it's great to see that it's manifesting itself at these, as Drew put it, destination events. That my wife and I've mentioned it before on the show, that Gen Con is our pseudo family vacation every year. And I'm even more so looking forward to going so that she and I can both jump into these events.
Oh yeah, Gen Con is personally, I've been going to Gen Con since 2012, maybe 2013.
Nice.
And it's one of my favorite shows every year. From a pastime standpoint, we've been running Magic there. Last last year was our 15th year running Magic at Gen Con, and it is it's a lot. And we're really excited to bring on Transformers as just another thing, so that we can kind of fill the hall with all these great players playing another really great game.
Absolutely. So before Gen Con, though, is Origins, which is at the time of this recording right around the corner, really. And I wanted to ask you about those other non-competitive events, but before I steal the limelight for a moment, Scott, was there anything else you wanted to ask there?
No, everything was great there. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So one of the things we wanted to highlight is that while we're obviously focused here on the competitive end of things, as you were mentioning, John, that's not the only way to play. And my wife loves competitive stuff. She's a great example, but she also sometimes, and I do too, you just want to sit down, and I love Transformers, so I want to sling some Transformers cards. And you were describing that there are a number of opportunities aside from the qualifiers and we'll call them the high-end tournaments, or the maybe a little more pressure-filled scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, as we said, Origins is basically right around the corner, so you folks are getting the first opportunity to see what we're offering at Origins. So for players who are brand new to this, have never seen this game before, my biggest recommendation is to hit up the Learn to Play. We have a crew of folks who will be there from 10 to 6 every day at Origins, there to teach you how to play this game. And it's great. It's really awesome. From there, they're going to give you a $5 off coupon so that you can go play in the Transformers Battle League, which is basically just a sealed league, and you can play all day. It's with the $5 off coupon, it's $15. You play all day. There'll be people playing all day, and it's a lot of fun. I'm actually a really big fan of these leagues. We do a similar thing for Magic, and we have 200 people that come and play in these leagues from time to time.
They seem to have a big following as well at the other PAX events, at least for the ones that I was in attendance for. So I'm definitely looking forward to this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the big draw to an event like a league is you can come sit down, play a game, get some prizes, and then go do something else. And then maybe later on the day, you're like, oh yeah, I'm still playing in this league. You come back, and you can play again and get some more prizes. Like, it's very comfortable for the convention schedule of, especially at PAX.
Oh, absolutely.
And Origins as well, where there's panels and things that you may want to go see, or a different game that maybe you've scheduled to play during a certain time.
Of course, the drop-in, drop-out nature definitely fits the convention mold very much, because as you said, there's always something else going on around the corner. It's something where people meet up with friends that they may not have seen in a while. So it's like, let's go out to dinner, or let's go play some games and then go out to dinner, or that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So. And so the kind of the next thing that kind of caters to this group of people that are huge and are very important to this game,
yes,
is the Turbo Sealed. Every morning at 10 a.m. at Origins, you can come and get 2 free booster packs and play. And for the first 3 games, if you win, you get a booster pack. And it's that simple. And you could get up to 5 booster packs just by coming and sitting down and playing.
Wait, and since we're seeing this for the first time, I didn't realize that was the case. It's literally just show up off the street, get handed 2 packs, and start playing?
Yep, that's it.
That is spectacular, and a great way. Like, Turbo Sealed in general is a format that I personally think is a great way to help. I mean, yes, it's confusing. You're going to get a random amalgamation of cards, but it does give you a broad overview of a lot of different things when you're picking up the game. So, and obviously free stuff is free stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll have judges there that will be able to, if you ever have any rules questions or any, hey, I don't understand how this card works, there's going to be somebody there who's going to be able to help you and walk you through.
Awesome. Definitely if you're showing up to these events, I would highly recommend that. Like that, I mean, not that I wouldn't recommend the other ones, but that sounds really cool. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to start off the day and get ready for, since it's at 10 a.m., you can come in there, maybe jam a game, and then get ready for the open preliminary that happens at 11.
Yep. And that I think is also a good segue. So were there any other, I don't want to say less competitive, but things that aren't as competitively minded events that you wanted to draw attention to before we get into the open and everything that surrounds it?
Sure. So at Origins, we talked a lot about having sealed events, but it being so close to the release of the next set, we decided to not go with any sealed events, just because, we don't want to have everybody getting a bunch of product from Wave 2 that they probably already have. So what we've done is on on Thursday and Friday, we have just another constructed event happening at 4 p.m. And this is, again, geared towards the more casual folks. Come on out, play some structured rounds, win some great prizes.
Awesome. So speaking of prizes, I guess, again, it seems like an appropriate segue there. Let's talk about we'll jump into the more competitive minded stuff. So you've mentioned, and we've been talking about for a little bit, these preliminaries, these opens, these qualifiers that ultimately culminate in an invitational at the end of this year. So what I know that some of these, and if you're a competitive person, you played in a lot of tournaments, it may be a recap for you. But if I'm just on the edge, I'm saying, hey, this sounds like a lot of fun. I like Transformers. I want to play competitively. This may be my first taste. So what am I expecting getting into this, John?
Okay, so these are competitive events. So you're going to be required to bring a deck list. That's going to be a big one. One of the kind of our goals of running this is to get an idea of what the competitive metagame looks like. So a really good way of doing that is seeing deck lists.
Absolutely.
So you're going to need to have a deck list for this. They're going to have Swiss rounds. And it's going to be based on the attendance. So if there are 32 players, it's going to be, I believe, 4 rounds. If it's 33 players, it's 5 rounds. And you're going to play those rounds. At the end of those rounds, there's going to be a cut to top 8, and all top 8 of those players are going to have an invite to play in the Open on Sunday for Origins. And at the end of these Swiss rounds, based on the number of points that you've earned, if you win a match, you get 3 points. If you draw a match, you get 1 point. If you don't win the match, unfortunately, you get 0 points. And based off of the number of match points you have, you'll receive prize tickets. And those prize tickets can be redeemed off of our prize wall for booster packs, for Transformers accessories. They can be redeemed for Magic accessories. They can be redeemed for playmats. All kinds of stuff. We have actually a really, really well-stocked prize wall of all kinds of cool things.
They do. I've seen it. We saw it at PAX, at least to some extent. Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm excited to see what's up there on the Transformers side. I know you mentioned some accessories and stuff, and that's always right up my alley. I have to have matching sleeves and deck boxes and stuff like that. So
yeah, absolutely. And real quick, just from our prize wall standpoint, I want to give a shout out to Ultra Pro, who helps us to support our prize wall. Ooh, and they're sending out some really cool Transformers TCG stuff.
Awesome.
So you folks are going to see some really neat.
I'm excited about that. So I had 2 quick questions before I hand it right back to Scott for a number more. Is there any sort of cap population-wise in the qualifiers for the Open, or is it just like should there be a sense of urgency for signing up ahead of time, like do it right away, or is it these are as open, if we get 300 people, we're dealing with it?
If we get 300 people, that's one of the best problems I could possibly have.
Yes.
But we have not put a hard cap on any of these events. However, we do have space caps.
Of course.
I don't believe that we're gonna run into any of those problems, so we don't really feel the need to publish that. A thing I should note that I actually didn't put in the schedule, which is on me, is that by entering any of these open preliminary events, you get 1 booster pack from Wave 3. Which will not release at this point.
Ooh, that's pretty exciting. So, I mean, we've been covering a number of the previews, and they're still going to be ongoing, obviously, as Wizards and all the affiliates release them. There's a lot of exciting things in Wave 3, so that's very enticing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited to be able to do this and to be able to give these Wave 3 boosters out because hey, you're getting them a couple of weeks early, which is pretty.
Absolutely.
John, real quick, in case anyone's not familiar with Origins, can you just, I assume it's a generic ticket thing, but could you just explain that to the fans so they understand how that works and how to enter the event and all that?
So Origins Game Fair is a convention in Columbus, Ohio, similar to Gen Con, similar to PAX East, PAX West. But Origins Game Fair is specifically surrounded by tabletop gaming. So you're going to see a lot of Magic. You're going to see a lot of minis. You're going to see a lot of really cool stuff at this show. And it's a really great value. It's a 4-day show. It's going to be June 13th through the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 13th through the 16th.
Yep.
And it's in Columbus, Ohio, which is a great city to go to. And if you go to Columbus for Origins, those of you who've been there before, you'll know that across the street from the convention center is North Market, and North Market is a great place for food. It's some of the best in Columbus, so make sure you go.
Keep that in mind, because I'm always on the lookout for a good place to grab some grubbage when I can.
Oh, absolutely.
So, one question I had regarding the prizes and the invites for the general structure, there was indication in the initial announcement that invites will pass down and things like that. So, can you just elaborate on that for people that may not be familiar with how exactly this qualifier series and then what it culminates in? And I mean, pass down may seem self-explanatory, but just for the sake of thoroughness.
Yeah, sure. So, as we were kind of developing the series with Wizards of the Coast, the question came up, what do you do if someone has already qualified and they want to play in another preliminary? And the answer is, I want people to come out and play Transformers. That's just straight up is the answer. So, if you have already qualified and you find yourself in the position where you have made top 8, let's say that you're the 8th seed or the 7th seed or whatever, basically the next player in the standings gets the invite.
Seems pretty self-explanatory. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Nice if I can get it, then.
Yep.
So let me pitch it over to Scott. Go ahead, Scott.
Prizes won't. But you can still get prizes for making the top 8, even though your slot to be qualified for what will be the Sunday event at Origins that will pass down. But your top 8 prize for the event in prize tickets, you'll get to keep, obviously.
So for the preliminary events, there isn't actually a top 8 prize. It's based off of your standings not standings, your record in Swiss. So we just kind of bypass that whole thing altogether.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you'll get that regardless. The qualifications is just like for making the top 8 or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
So like you could for instance end up with 12 match points and make it into the top 8. And only get 60 prize tickets, but the guy who's in first seed, who has 15 match points, is getting 80 prize tickets.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. And that makes sense. That's logical, because it's, at the end of the day, having everybody play as much as they personally want to play is obviously the goal. But at the same time, you don't want to discourage, or I guess on the other end, encourage someone dream crushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you guys had already thought about all the potential fringe scenarios, and that's our hats off to you because of the experience. And I get this isn't really your first rodeo with doing these sort of things.
Oh no, but I'm sure that through emails and through comments over the next couple of weeks, there will be some interesting things that the folks will come up with, because they always do. And I'm looking forward to those, because our goal here is to look at what Transformers is doing on a competitive level and make it as great as we possibly can. To make really cool events for you folks so that you have a reason to come out to these things and play Transformers, and then to subsequently buy some really cool Transformers product.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, while we're on the subject, and Scott, I apologize if I'm monopolizing time, but if people wanted to reach out to you, whether they saw this and they go, great, or they saw this and said, well, hey, what about, or what's the appropriate channel to reach out to you or Wizards or both, or how does that look?
So I won't speak for Wizards, but for Pastimes, you can always reach us through our website. That's pastimes.net. Pastimes is spelled PASTIMES.net. You can also find us at info@pastimes.net. That's our email address. On Twitter, we're at Pastimes Online. And you can find us on Facebook searching for Pastimes.
Awesome. So with that I'll be honest that you guys were very thorough, at least initially. Right now, I'll sleep on it, see if I can come up with something else. Again, this announcement we're recording this not very long after the official announcement, so that kind of satiates all my questions for now. Scott, let me hand it to you and see what else you got.
John, just real quick, I was wondering, how involved were you in like the, I guess you would say, tournament level structure of the game with the best of three and the sideboard and all that? Where was that completely already vetted through Wizards? I don't know how involved you guys were with all that.
So we've had some conversations with this. Ultimately, it's a Wizards decision. So I don't have a lot to really add there, other than it's very similar to Magic. It's very similar to Kaijudo, if you're familiar with that game. In the way that it.
Cool.
Makes sense.
The one thing I just want to point out for listeners again, so at Origins, and I'm assuming, we don't know for sure yet, but I'm assuming Gen Con is similar. There will be 4 qualifiers, top 8 from each one make it. I would look at it like each one of these qualifier events is their own. Honestly, like it's a pretty large prize pool just for the qualifier event. So I mean, even compared to, I would say, on par events that we've played in our own area, this is right up there with a great prize structure for those. So you have an opportunity to play in 4 different events throughout a single weekend, which I think is probably, for me personally, the best part of going to a convention. I mean, I've been going to conventions since like 1995 to date me. And honestly, if you just play one game, like I only pretty much play this now, it might seem like, oh, I'm only doing one thing, but honestly, the days just kind of fly by the time you're hanging out with people and talking strategy and then going, eating and hanging out in the city. Like it's 4 straight days of gaming if you decide to go for all 4. But even if you only go for a couple, there is at 11:00 a.m. each day. There's one of the qualifiers, and then there's an extra one on Saturday. So you have 4 chances to make top 8 to qualify for Sunday, and then Sunday is the big
show,
the big event. Yep. And if you only have to win one match on Sunday. You have to do as well as possible, but by winning one match, you'll make top 16, which will get you qualified for the Energon Championship in our home city of Philadelphia in December. So that's very convenient for us, where the prize pool is doubled, and I think it's just really cool to have an invitational style event. I mean, I've been playing in those since, when was Pro Tour 1? 1996. So like I've been playing in those style of events almost my entire competitive card life. So it's pretty exciting to see that there's an incentive to want to go to these larger conventions, as well as to your local game store, and you can qualify that way. So it's just really cool that like there's going to be all these different ways to qualify for a large event, and there's just such a unique prize at the end, in addition to the obvious prizes that I would have thought would have been there. It's just these extra prizes as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to shoot for with this one. There's a lot of things, and spread throughout both of the qualifiers, at the Invitational at the end of the show, which, by the way, I just wanted to call out for me personally. There are actual Transformers toys on the line for the prizes, which is exciting to me, and I know there's at least a few listeners out there that I've talked to that are excited about that. But that's at the Invitational, so you got to go to these qualifiers, make sure that you're doing well there so you can get to the Invitational.
Yeah, this series is really, really, really cool.
Yeah,
like I remember when they approached us about this, I was like, this is going to be neat. I'm really looking forward to running.
We're definitely looking forward to playing in it. Let me tell you that. I'm ready to go. I wish it was tomorrow. I really do.
So as we're kind of talking about Origins and things like that, I want to point out that we've given some number of Origins Game Fair badges, free badges, to the Transformers Facebook group. Not the official one, but the one that's the Transformers Facebook group, and they're going to be doing some giveaways over the next couple of the next week or so to try and help some of you folks be able to make your way out to Origins.
Spectacular.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So everybody out there watching, listening to this, definitely make sure you're part of that group. Check out whatever the details are in the group. I'm sure they'll have it posted up by the time this goes live, and see if you can get in on that, because this, not to beat a dead horse or broken record or cliche of choice, but this is really exciting. And as I mentioned early in the show, this is something that all of us on the competitive side of things have been practically salivating, starving for. But it also presents a great opportunity for everybody who happens to be Transformer fan first and says, hey, this is a fun game. Let me just hang out and sling some cards also. So there's opportunities at all ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. The dog agrees.
Yes, one of them agrees.
And look, the dogs are never wrong. That is for sure. So as I mentioned before, that kind of ran my list dry. Scott, was there anything else that you specifically wanted to make sure we called attention to?
No, we'll have a link in the description below, as well as on the post where you're probably reading this for the first time, the link to the pastime schedule that'll be out there at the time that this goes along, so you can see the full timing of everything going on. But the most important thing for Origins coming up, like I said, is each morning at 11 o'clock, and then I believe the Saturday extra one, I want to say, is 4 o'clock. I might be 3 or 4 o'clock. I don't remember.
It's 4 o'clock. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock.
Makes sense.
So there's 2 on Saturday and 1 on each of the first 2 preliminary days. So the important thing is those will be competitive level events. So just get ready for it.
Yeah. But don't forget your free packs at 10 a.m.
Absolutely.
Come play some Turbo Sealed, seriously. Yes. My wife loves that format. Like, she always wants to play it. So I can't open ever. I have to keep the packs to the side so we can play it later anytime I get any.
Absolutely. So as a quick plug for Wizards of the Coast, there's a new thing for Transformers TCG players specifically for these events. Most of you that are probably listening to this may have one through being a Magic player, but it's having a DCI number, a Wizards Play account. So down at the bottom of the announcement that Wizards of the Coast put out talks about how to get this ID. Please do this. If you're bringing a child that is 12 or under, this needs to be completed before you show up for the tournament.
That's a good point.
We cannot do this on site. It has to be done before they show up for that tournament. So everyone else, just when you have a few minutes of free time, head over to accounts.wizards.com, sign up, get a DCI number, and then that's the number you'll use anytime you play Transformers TCG.
Awesome.
This is different than my DCI number from like 30 years ago, right? It's something different, right?
The number was like 6.
It technically is the same number, but for those of you who've had a DCI number for a really long time, there was a migration about 2 years ago now of Wizards database, and a lot of that information no longer exists. However, if you still know what that number is, just give Wizards of the Coast customer service a call. Say, hey, I've got this DCI number. I'd like to reassociate my name to it, and tell them what your name is, and they can associate your name to your DCI number.
Awesome.
I'm definitely doing that, because my DCI number is one of the things I'm most proud of in life.
He has his original card framed, right, Scott?
No. I think my wallet got destroyed, and like my original gray,
as they are wont to do,
got destroyed. That from Duelist magazine #1. It was kind of sad, but
yeah,
I had it for a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the last thing from me about this series is, just kind of to talk a little bit one more time just about what's happening in Origins, right? So we've got the Open, you've got these preliminaries, they're going to feed into the Open, so the top 8 of those players are going to all play on Sunday in a single elimination event. It's 32 players, and we're gonna whittle that down to where we have a single player who's going to walk away with a portion of that $10,000 prize pool.
Awesome. One last question for you, John, that I just thought of as you were redescribing what's going on. Is there any intent to either have it live streamed or filmed? I know you were talking about deck lists and identifying the meta and that sort of stuff. Is there any intent for you guys or Wizards to first party do this?
Oh, I can't talk about that just yet.
Yes.
But maybe in the future, it wouldn't surprise me. It's definitely a conversation that has come up. It would not surprise me if it did happen.
Okay, I won't press you on that any further, but I do appreciate it. So this time it really does do it for me. Scott, anything else?
No, just for our fans. I mean, we were already planning on going when we first heard the announcement without the specifics. So there'll be at least 3 members of our team there. So come see us at the minimum if there's anything else you want to do for the weekend. So
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be there as well if you want to come out and see me. I'm a pretty cool person. I'll have
go see John.
I'll have my Transformers deck. My other stage manager, Meg Bomb, she'll also have her Dinobots deck there. She's a big fan of Grimlock.
Nice.
So we'll be there slinging some Transformers too if you folks want to play us.
Fantastic. Anything else you wanted to highlight as we're closing up shop? Any additional plugs, or I guess to recap where people could reach you, that sort of thing, John?
Not particularly. Again, this is going to happen at Origins. It's going to be great. We're going to have pre-registration up by Friday. That would be this Friday, which is May the 31st. So you'll be able to pre-register for these events to ensure that you have a slot, even though there is no cap. But beyond that, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me at info@pastimes.net. That's pastimes.net. You can find us online at Pastimes Online. That's Twitter. And you can find us at Pastimes on Facebook as well.
Awesome. Well, again, John, thank you for joining us. We appreciate all the information. We look forward to talking to you both at the events and hopefully get you back on the show in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about the game.
Fantastic. So for Scott and I, again, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for watching. And please tune in next time for more Random's Thoughts.